Welcome to this week's In Conversation. My name is Phil Jackman and I lead on CyberNorth, Dynamo Northeast Cybersecurity Cluster, supported by Accenture and the Innovation Super Network, and recognised by the Department for Culture, Media and Support and the National Cybersecurity Centre as representing the region. Each week, I'm talking to people in the Northeast cybersecurity scene. Today, I'm joined by Jen Lee, STEM Monitoring and Project Manager from RTC North. Hello, Jen, how are you?
Hi, good morning. I'm good, thank you.
Very good, excellent. And thank you for joining us. So can we start with you telling us a bit about yourself and your role at RTC North?
Yeah, certainly. So I feel like I'm a little bit of an imposter actually in the cybersecurity scene because I'm actually a chemist by trade. So I did a chemistry degree and I've spent nearly 10 years as a teacher across the Northeast teaching science to secondary school students. And then since leaving teaching, I've done a variety of things. So I worked for an exam board, making and preparing exam papers for GCSE students right across the world. And then here I am working in the education team at RTC North, and we work with businesses and young people to infuse as many people as possible to study science, technology, engineering and maths, and try and plug some of the skills gaps that we've got, particularly in engineering and the computing and digital sector.
I'm a zoologist by trade, so there you go.
Oh, maybe not such an imposter then. And RTC North is we're a business support organisation, so we're all about helping businesses to innovate and grow. So most of the rest of the teams around the business work specifically with small businesses. We do some stuff with bigger businesses, but it's mostly small businesses across the north, because we've actually got offices over in Leeds and Daresbury as well. As the Sunderland office, and our team's quite unique because we work with schools and young people as well.
Excellent. So you explain what the acronym stands for, but what is STEM and why is it important?
Yeah, so STEM stands for science, technology, engineering and maths, and I think most people have probably come across it now because it's been around for a little while. But I think it's important because, first of all, the UK, our economy pretty much relies on STEM in a huge way. A lot of the manufacturing and engineering industries in particular, and obviously tech is very much a growing sector within that. But I think it's more the skills that the people from those sectors have that are really valuable. And we're not knocking any of the other subjects by any stretch of the imagination. You know, the arts, geography, etc., are all very important as well. But I think STEM in particular is the skills and the knowledge and the understanding of the world, and it's the way things are going really, and it's just trying to make sure that as many young people as possible have got those skills and can use them in their future careers.
Excellent. So what's the relationship you think between STEM and cybersecurity?
Well, so every sector at the moment that I talk to seems to be saying that they are in desperate need of more talent, that they're struggling with their talent pool. You know, because I sit right across the STEM sector, I talk to scientists, I talk to all sorts of different engineers, I talk to people right across the computing and digital sector, and they're all saying we haven't got the people with the right skills and we haven't got the people with the right expertise or knowledge. And cyber is no different. You know, we've got companies who are saying exactly the same thing about the skills that you want and need within cyber. And I see it as, I think everybody's trying to solve their own little problem, but actually I think it's one bigger problem. And it's something that if we work together as a collective group and we can encourage the STEM skills generally, then we're more likely to get more young people coming through who want to work in STEM more generally. And then you can start taking your pick, each of you from your own particular industry sector. There's a lot of evidence that young people make a decision by the age of 10 as to whether they like science and technology or not. So children are making career limiting decisions before they leave primary school, which is really quite terrifying actually, because a lot of the interventions that are put in don't come in until the students are about to sit their exams at the end of secondary school. And by then it's already too late. But if you're talking to young people who are kind of 7, 8, 9 years old, talking to them about cybersecurity or talking to them about engineering in particular probably isn't going to strike a chord. But if you're talking to them about problem solving or about teamwork, then that sort of stuff does strike a chord. So I think with the younger ones in particular, it's kind of opening their eyes to STEM more generally. And as they get older, you can then start narrowing them down into the sectors that might suit their skills and their interests.
So hence the focus on STEM as opposed to other subjects.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. And does this school curriculum really address the needs of industry, or is there a problem there?
I think that's a really difficult one to answer, and I don't want to say yes or no because I don't want to offend any schools or anybody that may be watching. But as an ex-teacher, schools are so stuck with the curriculum that they've got that they're doing their best with what they're given with, but they are very, very much kind of penned in into they have to teach certain things. And from the conversations I have with business, many of them are telling me that the young people don't have the knowledge and the skills that they want in their particular business. And so it's a case of trying to get industry to work with schools so that there is that two-way conversation. There is a huge push at the moment, particularly in secondary schools and starting in primary schools as well now, on careers. And there's something called the Gatsby Careers Benchmarks, which does aim to address some of this and to give students a better idea of the careers that are available to them. They've all come across police, fire, doctor, nurse, midwife, etc., which are kind of the ones that if you asked a 5-year-old, they may reel off. But there is a huge push to work with all year groups right across secondary school. And as I mentioned, now starting to do some of that in primary schools as well, to give them a really broad view of what careers look like, and the sorts of things that they can go into. And I think cybersecurity in particular kind of struggles in that it's relatively new. It's perhaps something that the students haven't heard of, and more importantly, the parents haven't heard of, maybe thought of as a bit sort of newfangled, and they don't understand it. It might not be a secure job, whereas if you go into the police force, if you go into the fire service, if you're a doctor, a nurse, etc., they're sort of good old-fashioned jobs. They're proper jobs. And so I think we need to try and break that down, and it's starting with the students, but also trying to access the parents as well and getting them to realise that it is not only a valid career, but actually, interesting, lucrative, challenging, and the future. I think if nothing from the last few months, we've kind of seen that digital is kind of the way forward. So not just cybersecurity, but kind of computing and technology across the board.
I gather there's a STEM ambassador program. Tell me a bit more about that.
Yeah, so I've talked about industry working with schools. So the STEM ambassador program is there to facilitate that, really. So on a daily basis, I talk to many businesses and I talk to many schools, and I wish I had £1 for every time one of them told me that the other one doesn't talk to them. So we've got businesses desperate to work with schools, but they can't speak to them, and teachers don't want to know. And similarly, I've got teachers telling me businesses don't want to know. So we kind of sit in the middle as the STEM ambassador program and help facilitate those conversations and help you to speak the same language. So it's a volunteer program. So as a business professional, you can sign up. We will DBS check you and insure you so that when you're working with young people, you're kind of safe and secure. And then it's a case of volunteering to support schools in whichever way suits both you and the schools. So there's an online platform where schools can put on requests for what they would like, and we get things like hands-on workshops, or sometimes they want help writing CVs. At the moment, there's a lot of virtual work experience that's going on, and kind of a snapshot into your work life. Careers talks, loads of stuff. There's endless list of stuff. If working for children isn't for you particularly, but you like the teachers, you can work with the teachers through their professional development or as a school governor, etc. And that within the digital platform, you can talk to the teachers and work out what works for you and what works for them. And the idea is that you're infusing the young people either directly through running something like a workshop, or indirectly by working with the teacher and giving them the knowledge and skills to kind of pass that on. Where
can you find this platform? Where do you find more information about it?
So it's all done through stem.org.uk. There's lots of information on there about how to sign up. It is a national programme, so we are the hub is the official title for the North East, and we cover Berwick in the north all the way through Northumberland, Tyne Wear, County Durham and Tees Valley. Is our patch, but there are equivalent hubs right around the UK. So Scotland, Northern Ireland and Wales have representation, as well as England. And it can take as much or as little time as you like. I think a lot of people automatically go, oh, I haven't got time. Even if it's 10 minutes to help, make a little video about what you do on your daily, in your daily job, that is really critical to the school, because that's an insight into something that they wouldn't otherwise have. If you've got loads of time to spare, then brilliant. We'll gladly take your hand off, and I know the schools will as well. You can do stuff almost daily if you've got the time, but we ask to do a couple of things a year just to kind of chip in. And I think it goes back to what I said before, in that it's, as one collective kind of business STEM community, if everybody can do even just a tiny bit, 10-15 minutes, it might not seem like much to you, but collectively that's a huge amount of input that schools around the region can tap into. And we work with schools from primary right the way down, little 4 and 5-year-olds, right the way through to the 19-year-olds who are finishing their A levels. So I'm sure there's something in between. And as I said, if the young people aren't for you, then the staff or the governors or what have you may be. So there's certainly plenty that you can get stuck into.
Excellent. Well, I'm going through the program now. I'm then going to could you also tell us about the Teach Computing scheme?
Yeah, so Teach Computing is aimed at teachers. So the idea is that computer science is not being taught to as many students as we need as a country, really. And so it's one way of addressing that. There are professional development courses for teachers right the way from the teachers in lower primary school right the way through up to those that teach the A-level students. In particular, one of the programs that they're really working hard on is one where teachers, such as myself as a science teacher, can do sort of 40 hours worth of professional development across a year. And at the end of it, that makes me suitable to teach computer science. So in a school where perhaps they've got plenty of teachers, but not a computer science teacher, it's a way of kind of converting someone, because I've got teaching skills, I just don't have the computing side of things. And again, I suppose this comes back to the STEM Ambassador Programme. We're always looking for people who have got some knowledge and experience and expertise who can chip in and support teachers with their professional development. And the Teach Computing course leaders want up-to-date knowledge. They want to link it to things that are relevant as well. So they are teachers themselves and they're doing their best. But if there's anyone who can kind of chip in and kind of offer support or just a little bit of an insight into what is coming up or what they're working on and that sort of thing, that's always really appreciated.
Excellent. So my last question then, Jen, these next few months are going to be a challenge. What are your hopes for the future?
I think I've got a couple of hopes. So I mean, we've had some very positive news this week about a vaccine for COVID, and I think it's fingers crossed. But I think kind of linked to that, my hope is that we don't just drop back to how things were previously. I think there's a lot of things that people miss, face-to-face contact and that sort of stuff, and I'm definitely in that cohort. But I think the last few months has shown us that working remotely is feasible. There's a huge number of people who've been doing it very successfully for a very long time, and I'm just hoping that businesses don't automatically just drop back to everyone must now pile back into the office. So I think from a business and professional point of view, there's probably more to be gained from having a flexible approach to working and using face-to-face where it's wanted and needed. But I think it's also given parents and young people an insight into the fact that computing is really, really crucial. We really couldn't have got through the last kind of 8 or 9 months without it. If this pandemic had have happened 10 years ago, I think it would, could potentially have been much harder on businesses because the technology wasn't there. So I'm hoping that it's opened a few eyes to the young people and the parents who I mentioned before, who are critical, that realizing that computing and technology is the way forwards, and that digital careers are a viable option. So we can cross our fingers and hope.
Well, thanks very much for that, Jen. I'd also like to thank Robert Campbell, who's helped me to set up these in conversations. Look out for the next series, and if you're interested in taking a part, please get in touch. Thanks once again, Jen.